Right. Lovely. This looks like we may have actually... I think we may have actually gone live already. So hopefully I'm going to double check everything. But ladies and gentlemen, you are live. Please do not swear. Hello, everybody of the Stay at Home Choir. Now, we've started a few minutes early. Welcome, those of you who are here already. Hello, Hobbit JJ. Welcome those of you who are here already to the second of our technique forums in the last couple of weeks, this time with Dr Charles MacDougall. I will go on to introduce him in a couple of minutes. We have a few things to set up and a few singers to let in, but in the meantime we will sort out a couple of things and we will be with you in a moment, so hang tight. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are there, and I need to mute my other side, otherwise I will hear myself back in my ears. Welcome to our next Technique Forum. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm about to let in the rest of the singers that will be joining us, and I will crack on indeed. Welcome, stay-at-home choir singers. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'll give you a few seconds to get ready. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I realise you missed my very, very brief introduction while trying to sort out the live stream. Live streaming and Zooming all at the same time. What a challenge. Right, I'm going to mute you all just for the moment. And Charles, you can unmute yourself. Fabulous. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Ah, Charles, are you playing the video in the background? I can hear it.
No, I'm not playing anything. This is exciting.
Strange. You've got a bit of an echo on my end. Let's fingers crossed that disappears soon. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Technique Forum with Dr. Charles MacDougall. I am absolutely delighted that Charles has agreed to come and join us again. Those of you that were at his last session will know how much of a fabulous vocal coach, singer and choral director he is. Charles, I've had the extreme pleasure to work with in the past as a singer, as a vocal coach, and in many other formats with London Youth Choir. He is, in fact, one of the founder members earlier on of Voces 8, our friends who we'll be working with very soon, our project we launched last week, and amongst hundreds of other choirs, far too many to name, has conducted everyone from London Youth Choir, his own groups, youth choirs, professional choirs, and all sorts of groups in between. He is a true pedagogue, and if you've ever wanted to talk to a doctor of singing, this is your chance to do so. So, Charles, we are completely delighted to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm sorry I couldn't list all the fabulous accolades and things you've done, but I'm sure you can talk a little bit more to that. So today we've asked you to talk a little bit about the Sanctus and the Agnus Dei with regards to our final performance. There's loads of wonderful challenges in this piece, which I'm sure we'll get into. We have our stay-at-home choir members with us on Zoom. If you could give us a quick jazz hand, say hello. Lovely. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. There will be a chance to do a little bit of work with Charles and hopefully get a chance to talk about some of the difficulties you may have found in this piece and things, maybe some tricks that you may have picked up. Without further ado, then, I think, Charles, over to you.
Well, thank you, Jamie, for that introduction. I'm feeling a little bit flushed and overwhelmed. But it's great to be back. I'm sort of watching these projects that you guys are all doing with this kind of my loose jaw of like, what are they going to do next? So it's just so exciting, and this is really exciting too because I've got a bunch of singers on my screen, and you know, I don't get to do that very often. I'm just mostly talking to myself in a camera, so thanks for letting me actually speak to some real singers. How exciting! Just great to be back and to sort of pick up on another two movements. Last time we were talking about the Benedictus, and there are definitely things to pick up on that we spoke about in that movement too, but I'm just going to sort of kick off with some ideas about the Sanctus that I think might be quite helpful in the way that we then produce our sound and what we're thinking about. And I feel this movement very much is like the kind of holy army. You know that the line in the Te Deum, the noble army of martyrs, and I sort of hear that in this. All the way through, but I like that idea because they're precise and they're in time, and precision is key here. But they're not just precise; they're light on their feet. This army. So if you listen to these now, I might be flying in the face of other instructions you've had, but I'm fairly certain that the first challenge in this piece is actually getting the S's together on page 1. So that we all have to agree exactly where they are. Now, Jamie, you can tell me if I'm wrong. I think they're on the quaver. Have you been putting them on the beat, the third beat, or are they on the quaver?
Now, I have a rule for any of these things because I can't remember them all at once. My rule is that you listen to the guide track, and I think, in fact, they are on the quaver. So, yeah, Sanctus.
Yeah, good.
I beg your pardon, the short one.
So, one of the interesting things about virtual choirs and all of these things that we're trying to do online at the moment is it doesn't really matter what a cracking musician you are when there's other people around you. We suddenly have to be totally robotic, don't we? And not lose the kind of vibrancy in the sound. So what we're trying to get with this is real precision and be really robotic about where we place that S, but make sure the sound is sort of light and that his army is light on their feet. So I just want, first of all, let's just have a sing of it, of your own parts, wherever you are. Here's your chord. So if I just give you a 3-4, I'll just play some chords and we'll have a sing and see what happens. 3, 4. Now, how successful was that? I'm sure, no matter how well we're thinking, we're not all exactly with that S in the same place. Now, it's a real git of a page because every word has the S at the end and we've got to get it together. So can we just try chanting it, first of all? We'll just do it in time, something like 3, 4. Sanctus. 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 Dominus. So can you feel that little space there where we almost feel like we've stopped speaking? Can we try it one more time and feel that lightness in the production even when speaking? Same thing again. 3, 4. Sanctus. 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 Dominus. So you've got that, and I bet that's really cracking. Can you just do the S's for me at the end now? Can we just do the S's at the end? I'll demonstrate. It looks like this. I'm going to look like I'm on mute, and I'm not. 3, 4. S. 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 Now that probably came through as just weird background noise over Zoom and down YouTube, but you get the idea. We're just doing the S, so can we give it a go now? Just the S at the end of Sanctus and Dominus, so we really know exactly where it is. We're not guessing, we're really precise. Let's give it a go. Here's a 3, 4, 3, 4. Sorry, I shouldn't be making a noise, that was my fault. Here we go, let's try that again. 3, 4. S. So, something rather wonderful happens with that S as well, and you know I love to talk about the breath and about airflow, and when we have that quite active consonant there, what happens afterwards is that lovely fulfilling reflex breath, because we've just used all the air to make the consonant, and you know I love that, I absolutely love that. So, can we try now, singing it? Okay, we'll try singing it again, and now we feel that lightness, and this is where into the sound, bring that same idea of the real bounce to it. So we have Sanctus, 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 Dominus. And you hear how there's still almost a gap there? Maybe make it quite an extreme gap just this first time to see how tight we can get this. Here we go. Here's our chord again. I'm not going to play anything because I want to look at you all doing it. So here we go. 3, and. How did we get on? Do we reckon we were together? I think it was pretty precise. Yeah, shall we have another go? I'll sing a bit of soprano this time, my apologies. I won't do it up the octave, don't worry. Nobody needs to hear that today. Far too early in the week for my falsetto. Here we go. 3, 4. Sanctus, 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 Dominus. So, are you with me? Are you with me? Do we feel that? Do we have any questions about that before I dive on? Jamie, yeah.
Of course, the other vocal geek has a question.
Please.
My question actually is something I noticed that I've tried to do when trying to be really specific about, really precise about where a note might be. And the thing I notice is that I would be very likely to go Sanctus and squeeze. And it was interesting that you used that word lightness, particularly in reference to the breath as well. How can we think about this to make sure we aren't forcing that final note in trying to be so specific about it?
Really great question, because of course, actually, the minute we start to be as singers, especially if we care about these things and we're try-harders, we suddenly start really over-egging the pudding, and suddenly we're Sanctus. And the thing is, what I challenge you to do is to think about what that sound feels like when we're just doing an airflow in our warm-up. I'm sure we're all super warmed up so far this evening, but if you just give me let's just get the thumb, I'm just going to stand up so you can see, so I'll stand here. If we put the thumb on the belly button here, and a hand flat against the tongue here, and you just give me a s, 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 and a s, s, s. And you see, that feels very natural. That's a very normal sound. Notice the difference if I then really over-energize. I mean, that is just too violent. We just don't need to be working quite that hard. So it's about connecting to that very natural feeling that we have. And so if we're doing those kind of exercises in our warm-up, that's the moment we say, well, hang on a minute, does that feel like that very effortless, easy way of producing sound? Wonderful vocal coach Ron Morris always says, how does that feel? Suspiciously easy, right? And actually, I've always loved that, because that's exactly what it should feel like. At that point, it's just very easy. It doesn't need to be over-egged. So the minute it starts feeling like you're putting a lot of effort in, you need to dial it back a bit. And if you're anything like me, a real try-harder, like I just really want to get this right, we work too hard to produce those very natural and easy sounds. Does that answer your question, Jamie?
I think it absolutely does, and I think you're completely right about the trying hard, because we want to get it right. We want to be precise and be with our director, but it's the counterintuitive thing of try less and make it feel easy.
Yeah, and that is so hard as a singer, and I speak from personal experience. When we want to do well, and we feel like singing should be effort. And it is, in many ways, of course it is. It's completely, and you all know out there, you all know that singing a concert is an exhausting activity, and it should be, because our brains are firing, and our whole physical being is involved in the act of music making, or it should be, and that's the most wonderful thing, and that is exhausting. But there's a difference between that kind of level of energy and poise and ready to interact and engagement, and sort of tension and forcing, and it's really hard to get the balance of that sometimes. And I have to say, speaking again from experience, I've done a lot of studio recording in my time. I never have I done quite so much by myself in a room that has less acoustic than a shoebox, known as right here by the piano. And I've noticed we try very, very, very hard when we're by ourselves, because we're not getting any feedback from the room, and we're not getting any feedback from those around us. So we sort of up the energy ourselves and overwork. So I just sort of find myself saying to singers a lot at the moment through all of this world of virtual choirs, take it easy and don't place the pressure on yourself, and take a step back and just sing like it doesn't matter, and sing like you're in the shower, and that's really hard. That's really tricky.
Great.
Okay, so I'd sort of like to move on, and it's actually links to the point that you've just made, really, about what we do with that consonant. So if we were to look, for instance, at page 32, where we get the Plenicencelli et terra for the first time. So what's this, bar 15? And I just want to see my singers again. I'm just going to switch back to, there we go, that's lovely smiling faces. Nobody's nodded off yet, so it's a permanent danger as a technician, as you think, is anybody there? So, okay, so the Plenicencelli et terra. Can we have a go at singing that? We'll just literally do from letter B, let's just do it for 4 bars, okay? Here's your notes. 3, 4. that'll do. Wonderful, almost Star Wars moment there that I really love. I don't know what work you've done on this, but suddenly we've got lots more text than we've had. We've done 2 pages twice through of Sanctus, 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 and suddenly we get some text. I'd just like you to do that again, exactly the same thing, and monitor how good you think your diction is, and give me some, in a second you're going to give me some suggestions as to how you might improve it. And we might play a bit of a game of, what's that one where our survey says, as family fortunes. We might do a ways to improve diction. So watch out, I'm going to be catching you out. Here we go. So here we go, here's the instrument, Shelley. 3, 4. So, let's have a chat. Don't be frightened, singers who I've got in front of me. I'm very lovely. I won't be mean. I'm just fascinated to know how we think we're going to make that, or whether we think that's important. I should say right now, I think we've got this text, we need to do something with it. What are we going to do? Anyone got any ideas? I won't shoot anyone down. Hey.
It feels like it's meant to be marching forward, and so the diction sort of helps with that, creates this sort of I don't know, a marching feel to it.
Sure, I really like that, especially because there's this word affrettando at the beginning of this movement. How many of you have looked it up? Okay, it means, I think in this context, Sir Carl might disagree, but I think it means pressing forward. It can mean get faster. I'm not convinced that's what's happening. I think it's Mary Beth there. Thanks for that. I think that's in here. It's this pressing forward moment of something's happening. We got to suddenly a bit more exciting. We've got this text. So so we're going to think about using the diction to help us press that forward. How are we going to do that? What are we going to do? What are we going to work harder?
You need to work with the consonants.
Sure, lovely, Helen. Thanks for that. Yeah. Work with the consonants. So, and where does the power for consonants come from?
It's from here, really.
Aha! Our survey says maybe, but let's have a little chat about that. Does it really? Does it really? So I'm just gonna. I totally agree with you that we're creating consonants. It feels like we're up here, and I tell you what. Let's try it. Right, we're going to work really hard up here to make our consonants. Okay, let's work really, really, really hard. So we're really trying to make ourselves understood. Let's give it a go. Let's sing it. We'll just do 2 bars. Really hard work. 3, 4. Who feels a little bit tense? Yeah, right. Okay, so really interesting. We're working hard up here, but actually we've created tension. So let's have a little different way of thinking about this. And you're sort of all going to kick yourself because you all know this really anyway, which is, can we just go back to favourite position, thumb on the belly button. I know you had a workshop, you had a technical session with Veronica Vesey Campbell, and if you didn't have your hands on your tummies in that session, I'd be very surprised. So we're going to have our hands on our tongues, thumb on the belly button, hand down here, and we're going to do something really, really weird, which is, can you just say for me the consonants in each of the words? Now, this is not your Zoom having a meltdown, just watch, okay? P, L, N, S, N, T, Ch, L, T, T, R. I'm going to do that again, just in case you didn't catch that. Okay, this is not an internet glitch. This is not a buffering issue. P, L, N, S, N, T, Ch, L, T, T, R. Let's have a go, shall we? I'm going to stand up. We'll do it together. 3, 4. P, L, N, S, N, T, Ch, L, T, T, R. Let's have one more go. One more go. Just the consonants. Here we go. Don't forget the double T of et, terra. Yes, here we go. P, L, N, S, N, T, Ch, L, T, T, R. Okay, right. So now we've all gone completely bonkers, wondering what on earth we're doing. Where do you feel that?
in your diaphragm.
I know why we've gone there. I know why we've gone there. I'll question you as to whether you can feel your diaphragm because it's all the way up here. Let's go for a much more obvious answer. What was your hand on?
On my belly.
Thank you, Bridget's frantically tapping her lower abdominal muscles, right? So we singers, we get a bit caught up on the idea of the diaphragm. My advice is leave it alone, right? It's really, really good at its job. It doesn't need you to interfere with it. Okay, so I like to not really think about the diaphragm an awful lot because I can't feel it. I'm not really aware of it. I just know it's working because if it weren't, I'd be dead. So we're going to let it get on with its job. So what do we feel? We felt our lower abs, we felt our tummy muscles working. Okay, now the danger of getting myself into hot water here, I'm going to use the S word. That, for me, is what singers call support, right? Is feeling that down there, the tummy muscles working. And it's the tummy muscles. And so where does the power for consonants come from? The tummy muscles. Guess what? That's the same as the rest of the voice. It's not like we've got to think, right, I'm just going to make this beautiful, lovely, connected sound all the way down here. And then up here somewhere, I have to put these consonants on top. And Helen, I totally agree with you. This is what's creating it. But the energy for it is all the way down here. So let's try it. We'll try to say the consonants with the rhythmic quality of the melody you've got. Sorry. And basses, please do by all means. I know you've just got Sanctus. Okay? But if you do your plenicencellis with us, it will stand you in good stead for later. Okay? So here we go. Let's just do... So we have plenicencelli. Okay? Here we go. 3, 4. Plenicencelli. Okay? Now can we say it, please? 3, 4. Pleni sunt celi et terra. So now, can we have that bounce feeling back in? Pleni sunt celi et terra. 3, 4. Pleni sunt celi et terra. And now let's sing it and see what happens. And see where we feel the hard work happening. Is it up here anymore? Or is it all the way down there? Let's give it a go. 3, 4. Interested to know, we might have another go, but if you can feel the different singers I've got in front of me, if you can feel it, oh, I see nodding, oh, that makes me very happy, good. Can feel the difference there. So this really, really fascinating thing happens for me in choir rehearsals, and I'm so lucky to be a vocal coach because we have the best time because we go and watch other people conduct choirs and we pick holes in what they do and people pay us for that, and it's lovely because I'm naturally a very critical person. So I found my calling. But what I always notice is that directors say, I want better diction and I want more consonants. And we all go, pleni sunt celi et terra, because we think, right, okay, I'd better really do something here. And then they say, that was awful, what was that? You all sounded like you were having a coughing fit. And we say, you wanted more consonants, right? So I gave you more tongue, teeth and lips. I gave you more articulator. But actually, if we can think about it in a different way, we get just as much energy and just as much excitement from these power muscles down the bottom. Have we got any questions about that or observations from Jamie? I'm sure he has something to add to that.
I have something about Primal Voice and connected to that in a second, but I'd love to hear stay-at-home choir singers first. Thoughts? Shall I go then?
Yeah, you go. I think they're all just in total agreement, which is great. I mean, we love that. So.
We love total agreement. Myri, did you have your hand up?
I'm just going to say, when you do it with the sort of support at the beginning, it's actually a lot less effort and a lot less hard work. So over a whole piece, it's actually easier to do that, but it's just remembering to do it at the right time.
Absolutely, that is just and such a sort of groundbreaking thing, isn't it, for singing? It's like, okay, well, hang on, if I actually am using these muscles at the beginning, then I don't need to overcompensate, because actually all the energy is down there, and I totally agree with you. Imagine a whole consonant of you know, we'd sound like we're choking, we're going to be exhausted, and exhausted in the wrong way. I totally agree. Is there anyone else who wants to dive in?
I can relate to the idea of the musical director giving a cue and responding in the wrong way. I think I'm often responding with the wrong effort. Is similar to, you know, as soon as they tell you the tuning needs to go up, your whole body tenses rather than relaxing. So I can relate to that.
Oh boy, yeah. I mean, you know, I'm sure there are 1,000 hours we could spend talking about what the director wants and how singers respond. And it's nobody's fault. I should also say this to any directors who are out there. I'm not having a go at you. It's not that you're not being clear. It's that you have an idea in your mind, and then we communicate it, and then as singers we say, all right, I think I know how to do that. And Mary Beth, you're so spot on that. Yeah, the big one is always sopranos. You're a bit flat. Okay, and up come the shoulders, and everything's longer and taller, because we know somewhere in here standing taller was going to help us sing in tune. I mean, sure, yeah, kinda, but so we're just trying, aren't we? And so there is this remarkable thing about that partnership between a director and a singer. And again, I think I've got it easy, because as a coach, I sort of stand there and think, I think that line of communication was a little bit confused there. So we're just going to try and unwind that without offending anybody. I don't know if I succeed, but Jamie, you wanted to say something about primal voice.
I just think it's really interesting talking about. You said earlier about the lack of effort, and that we've talked a lot in our previous rehearsals and warm-ups about doing singing, and you've sort of touched on the same thing, and we talk a little bit about primal voice, and I know you'll have used similar warm-ups. In our warm-ups, for example, we've done things like, hey, getting all of this engaged and all of these, our lower abdominals working in a way that we're not doing. It's a symptom and a byproduct of setting everything up in the correct way and just making sure you're ready. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that. I just kicked a big metal thing under my desk, and that was rather.
Is it your giant comedy-sized tuning fork?
Never
knowingly out of tune. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's really interesting when this idea of the primal voice, primal sound, and we're sort of in a really interesting place scientifically as well, because there's a lot of research about this, and so I'm going to be careful what I say and stick to the really safe stuff that we do know. So the fascinating thing about the primal voice or primal sounds is that they are not vocally taxing. They are totally vocally efficient. And because they are emotionally motivated or emotionally responsive. He says, treading very carefully. Hot water, I'm going to get myself into hot water, I can feel it already. But they are emotionally motivated sound. And so what happens is we experience emotion and our body responds by doing a certain thing. So, I mean, the most obvious examples are, of course, I experience joy, so I laugh. Or I experience sadness and I cry. And although people do learn all sorts of interesting ways of laughing, the natural laugh that we have is totally vocally efficient. It's not vocally tiring, and crying is the same. You know, if we look at a baby, it can cry for days and doesn't lose its voice because it's doing it based on the primal sound. So the thing about primal voice is that it's efficient and it's what we would call on the body, and it's motivated by the body. So yeah, the more of those kind of things you can build in, that connection to laughter and crying, or the emotionally motivated, and we all make them all the time. So I'm sure we've all done them. I've said something you agree with and you've gone, or I've said something you disagree with, you go, or huh, oh, as you discovered that consonants came from the abdominal muscles. Okay, and we don't need to think about those sounds, they just happen. So I would certainly say, in your warm-up time, never neglect those what feel like quite basic sort of, well, primal, they don't feel very clever. And so singers sort of go, well, that can't possibly be helping me be a better singer, doing but actually it is, because it's reminding us how efficient that sound is and to connect our singing to that. So, I mean, the more time you can spend doing, hey, you know, all of those sounds, and terrify everyone in your house as you start yelling at nobody, they are great sounds to use. And we can certainly bring those in. If you were to look at if we were to look at one of the more robust sections of the Sanctus, we definitely want that quality of connection in the sound of the shout. So we need that primal voice too. I could talk about primal voice all day, but I won't, because we're here to talk about other music. Shall I move on to, as the clocks are ticking, shall I move on to the Agnus Dei? We'll do a bit of work on that.
Sounds great. Let's do some stuff on the Agnus.
Brilliant. All right. So I'm just throwing my music everywhere. It's very exciting here. Okay. So let's just look at page 1 for everybody. And I notice in this movement, it's sopranos at the beginning. Okay, just sopranos at the beginning. But we're all going to sing that because reference page, whatever it is, January, how many? Page 80, bar 25, 26, 27, 28. We all do it. So if you're happier looking at that, if you feel mortally offended by the idea of reading the treble clef, then you can look at bar 28. Otherwise, that just the opening will do. So could we all have a go at singing that beginning? And it just sounds like this, doesn't it? Okay, so how's that feel? Fairly fine, lovely. What a lovely, beautiful phrase, and it really just glorious stuff. Absolutely beautiful. Can we just try a couple of things with this? Because I'm really interested in what I know would normally happen to singers here. So I just want us to do one thing first, which is, can you just monitor now? We're just going to sing it exactly that again. Okay, and can you just monitor what you feel your jaw is doing, and where you feel your tongue is, and how you feel your matches the sound that I'm making, which might not be to your taste. You can write me a bad review, but can we just see if you can think about how your sound differs to mine at that point? Indulge me. Here we go. 1, 2. Agnus Dei. So I want us to just try a couple of things now. I'm just going to play the beginning. Actually, no, I'm just going to count. And I'd like us to we're going to breathe out for sort of 2 beats, like this. Just going to do exactly that. Now, if you were here for the Benedictus workshop, you know what tree I'm barking up at the moment. But let's just try it again. Here we go. 1. So I'm going to count us in 3, 4, and then we're hissing out for 2. Breathing in on 3 and then singing. Here we go. 3, 4. Same thing again. 3, 4. One more time. If you don't already have it there, get a hand on your lower abs. Let's breathe that air out again. Here we go. 3, 4. Agnus Dei. So, can you just tell me some things you notice about that breath with the hiss before it? And yes, you can use your notes on the Benedictus to cheat here. It's not cheating. So, any thoughts on that?
I was I realized how much more breath I had, but the other thing is I noticed my soft palate went up when I breathed in, and that gave me better tone.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? So I'm going to go to the thing that I think most people would normally now say, all right, hang on, we've got a problem there. I would often hear, ah, or ah, those extremes, and those were very extreme, admittedly. But we all live in this world of slightly different vowel production. And we can get really hung up on that, really hung up on jaw shape, really hung up on where the tongue is. But I think it's really interesting that when you do that little hiss out before, and then the reflex breath, you don't even think about it. The jaw drops, the mouth opens, and you make this lovely, lovely, lovely open sound. Can we just try it once again? Now you've made, Mary Beth, you made that lovely point about the idea of finding more space. Whether that's a perceptual thing, I think lovely Ginevra Williams, amazing vocal coach, would say actually the soft palate doesn't move that much. But I would counter her and say, haha, but singers feel like it does. And that's really important. We've really got to think about what we feel and how we perceive things. That's really important. So now we know that the soft palate doesn't move that much, but we do feel the space like Mary Beth did. Let's do it again. Here we go, same again. 3, 4. Ah. It's a lovely, lovely, lovely open sound. Now, if you're still feeling that there's a little bit of tension here, just give me a bit of chewing. And a yawn. And stick out the tongue. And then we'll just do some circles in the air like you're trying to lick a lolly that's just out of reach. And then just a bit of tongue in and out like a lizard. And then can you do a bit of north, south, east, west, or west, east, doesn't matter which way, it looks like this. And then back to this lovely lolly licking. So let's try that phrase one more time. Here we go, same thing again. 3, 4. Agnus Dei. Feel any different after giving a little bit of a yeah? Oh, I love that. Right, thumbs up. Yeah. Right. So if you don't need to admit anything right now, but if you felt when you were sticking your tongue that your jaw was going with it, you need to spend a little bit of time doing that kind of stuff just before you start to sing, because it probably means you've got a little bit of tongue and jaw. They like to hang out. They really love to hang out. They're the best of friends. However, they're false friends for nice vocal production, right? So just loosen them up a bit before you start to sing. So that will often clear things up. I'm just going to develop this before Jamie tells me to shut up and let you ask some questions.
Not at all.
So we're starting to feel this free vocal production, and it's based crucially, first of all, on breath. It's not based on thinking I need to not have any tongue and jaw tension, right? Because the minute we say I need to not have any tongue and jaw tension, guess what? We have tongue and jaw tension. Okay? So instead we say I don't need that. I need breath. I need good airflow. Okay? And it needs to be this reflex breath again. Kel's breathe. I'm on about it again. The reflex breath. Everything opens, feels free. If you're still feeling tight, then we do a little bit of move that, and that's for you to really, really work on. Do a bit of mirror work. You'll soon see what's going on in terms of the shape. But then we all want to find the same R, and this is back to the point I made just before, that some of you will sing ah, ah, ah. 3 quite different R's, all of them totally valid, but if we put them together, we're not going to get that immaculate blend, okay? And great blend comes from vowels, really. Singing in tune and vowels, and mostly vowels. So what we'll do now is we'll see if we can get everybody's R vowel to the same place quite quickly. Okay, so we're going to do something really weird. I love weird things. And we're going to go, just say with me first of all, the, they, the. The, they, the. The, they, the. The, they, the. Just loosen up that jaw for me again. Some of you, give me a bit of chewing. And sort of big, let the jaw hang loose. Gormless face, totally acceptable for singers. It's my excuse anyway. Okay, give me a thee, they, the, thee, they, the. Now we're going to try this. Have a listen. Thee, they, the. You should recognise the little melodic fragment that's coming afterwards. Okay, here we go. Let's do it together. 3, 4. Thee, they, the. Now, let's get rid of the THs between everything, and we'll have the años. Here we go. So get rid of your THs apart from at the beginning. Here we go. 3, 4. The años. One more of those. 3, 4. The años. So, well, I'd love to know what you notice about that, and then I will stop talking. Anything interesting at all? Some great wide-eyed expressions that are making me very happy. But I want to know why. I want to know why. Tell me.
There's no. I should add. There's no right or wrong with this.
Absolutely. No right.
I've noticed things that have changed in my own voice from approaching it this way. I'd love to hear from our stay-at-home members. What's anyone spotted? Mike.
I think it might answer the question I had earlier about how much breath to take, because I wasn't aware while doing that exercise of thinking, because there's quite a long phrase there, I really should take a big breath and maybe hold back and maintain that, or contain it rather, to make sure I got enough end of the phrase. I wasn't worrying about that, which is possibly a good thing, because, or put another way, that was my unanswered question, is how much to sort of hold back with my breath, and being aware that I need to it's going to last through the end of the phrase, or shall I just not worry about that and just maintain a sort of consistent support and it'll happen?
Well, I mean, Mike, it's yeah, the eternal question, but I love that you've sort of come to the conclusion. Yeah, guess what? Breath is really amazing when you stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Like everything else in singing, the minute I go, right, I've got 95 bars of Bach here and the Git wrote me nowhere to breathe, so I'll just become the Michelin man and grow a third lung in order to get through this. And actually, first of all, we just have to stop caring about that, because sometimes it's going to work. Sometimes we just need the breath, right? We just need the breath. So we just stop worrying about that first of all. But also, isn't it interesting when we stop thinking about the inhalation? Because I was making you do so you were all thinking about pushing air out, which is probably the opposite of what you do when you're singing, which is, oh my goodness, I've got to get to the end of this, so I've really got to focus on that exhalation through the phrase. But actually, by then it's too late, because as you sort of got to the conclusion yourself, Mike, the breath that happens, that's the reflex one, that just is the is totally healthy and is going to carry you so much further through the phrase than this one. You know, so really fascinating, but also about finding that right shape as well. Because one of the nice things about the sound you're probably all making now, and I'm sure you do all the time anyway, is that lovely open space of the is just easier to sing into, because there's less of the kind of, there's no constriction or tightness. So the more we can kind of let the breath help us find space, then it lets us find the space, and it also sustains us through the phrase. I don't want to talk right into our last minute, so I'm going to stop and hope some more questions. But that was, yeah, wonderful things there, Mike. Thanks for that.
Really great point. And what's actually really lovely is hearing you talk, Charles, about how effectively the importance of the breath, and actually by not doing and just letting the breath take care of itself. I would argue that all of us have been breathing for most of our lives. Just let our body do it, a bit like you said with the diaphragm earlier. it'll take care of it. And the second I did, even then, I know this, and I've trained. You know, I'm a singer like you. And even when I just sit down and remind myself, I noticed tension coming out of my cheeks, tension coming out of here. My breath started working properly. It was all in the right place. And I felt like I also had much more power in my voice as a result, without having to try harder. So it was like going into a really good gear on a bike when you just feel you're doing this and you're going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. It was akin to that feeling.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's, you know, that also, what I think one of the most exciting things about sort of seeing all these guys here on the screen is that you're obviously interested in learning, and there is, as a singer, I am still having my life changed from time to time when I meet people, and I think, oh wow, you know, the way that they might sing or the way they produce their sound, or something I've learned from somebody. And I think one of the things I love most about working with singers is that I learn all the time from things people say. And I really feel that's one of the ways that we make sure that we don't miscommunicate when we're in a rehearsal. And we're going back to our point about that breakdown of communication. This person has asked me to do this, and I'm going to respond by doing that. I think the way that we make sure we are equipped to deal with that, both as coaches, directors, and as singers for the reception of it, is that we constantly are willing to experiment and learn. And we find, you know, if we sort of leave certain things at the door, as Jamie's saying, it's like, he's got the humility sorted there, hasn't he? It's like, oh, I just discovered actually I've got some tension there, which isn't like, oh my goodness, I'm such a crap singer that I've got tension. It's, oh, I'll notice that, and do you know what I'll try and do? I'll try and be more on the breath, and I'll try and check that alignment and think about those things. And I think when you're like that as a singer, you are in a really exciting state of mind for improving your sound, which we can all do. So are there any more questions from anyone before I bore you all to tears with technical stuff?
Can I ask one more thing? If the breathing out to generate the natural breath in, how would you do that in a performance?
Oh, now, well, I naughtily would if I feel that I'm feeling. I do all sorts of things on stage you don't see, bending my knees, shaking my hands. Whatever gets you there on stage, you got to do it sometimes. Okay, so I would do that. It's difficult down a microphone because it picks it up. But I would say the point of that is that is something for the rehearsal room and something for your private practice time. So we build habit. We build bad habits very easily, but we can also build good habits. And the more you rehearse, trying just that phrase there, that then means when you then come to sing that and you hear the orchestra doing that, you remember, the brain says, I remember this. And you don't need the exhalation. So do it enough so that the brain remembers, oh, I liked that feeling, and I can get it without the middle point. But if in doubt, squeeze it into performance. Oh, always. Any others?
Going once. That sounds like you may have answered them all in the process of this, Charles. I know certainly this has been a fabulous reminder of many points for me, and really helps to have that perspective as well, and from someone as fantastic as you. So thank you so much for your help, Charles. Stay-at-home choir members, thank you so much for joining us. Those of you that have joined us in the room, it's of course wonderful to have you. I hope you've got plenty of stuff to take away. And if you do disagree, you can go and practice the in your own time after this. So thank you so much for joining us. It's really lovely to have singers singing along with us in the rooms. Stay-at-home choir members on YouTube, I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you so much again for joining us. All of the materials, as ever, are available on YouTube. This will be available after the fact. You'll be able to visit the link that you've been sent in your emails, and all the information is on the website www.stayathomechoir.com. All you need to do is log in and go to the Armed Man project. If you have further questions or anything, by all means do shoot them through. We're very good friends with Charles, and I have no doubt we will be messaging him in a couple of weeks' time saying, could you come and do a third session? We loved you so much. So
I'd love to.
Fantastic. Charles, thank you again so much for having us, and I think in the standard way we should give Charles the usual stay-at-home choir goodbye.